I call the order meeting of the Verona Board of Reviews for Thursday, August 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I will begin with the roll.
Alderperson Helmke.
Present.
Alderperson Kaiser McHenry.
Present.
Alderperson Tucker Long.
Here.
Mayor Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Braithwaite.
Here.
Alderperson Posey.
Here.
Alderperson Hoaxed.
Present.
And Alderperson Harrison.
Here.
And then Alderperson Lytle is absent and excused.
Excellent. We'll move on to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from the May 16th, 2023 and May 13th, 2024 Board of Review meetings. Questions, comments, or motions to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Helmke, maybe. Last chance for corrections. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the May 16th, 2023 and May 13th, 2024 Board of Review meetings, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 4, which is confirmation of open book and Board of Review notices.
Both the open book and board of review notices are in the packet, and they were published in the Verona Press and posted at our physical locations as required by statute.
Excellent. We'll move on to item 5, which is selection of a chairperson for Board of Reviews. Mayor doesn't have to run the meeting, so if someone else wants to do it, I guess raise your hand. Or thanks. I guess I would ask for your unanimous consent to pick me as the chairperson for the Board of Reviews. All right, see none hands. Okay. We'll move on to item 6, which is verify who is current on their Board of Review training. Clerk Licht.
Alderperson Harrison and myself took the board of review training for 2024, and the affidavit was filed with the Department of Revenue, and it's in the packet as well.
Excellent. We'll move on to item 7, which is verification that the city has an ordinance for the confidentiality of income and expense information provided to the assessor's office under state law, Wisconsin statute 70.47, paren 7, paren AF. Clerk Licht.
We do have an ordinance, and it is included in the packet.
Excellent. With that, we'll move on to item 8, which is the receipt of the assessment roll and the assessor's affidavit by the clerk from the assessor. Clerk Licht.
Yes, I received the assessment roll, and Assessor Peters has signed the affidavit, and I think he has a little bit more information that he would like to give the board.
Official.
All right, well, thank you. Dean Peters speaking, assessor for the city. The 2024 assessment roll has been completed. The assessor's affidavit has been signed. And I think the next agenda item is to verify open book changes. I can do that right now. The
Excellent.
open book changes that were made this year have been recorded in the assessment roll. So every assessed value in there is current and up to date. And at the adjournment of this meeting will become final. The scope of work this year was an interim market update revaluation for the city. And we have been on a schedule of doing market updates every 2 years since 2020. So we did a full revaluation in 2020. We did a market update in 2022, again in 2024. And we have seen, still historically high home value increases during the period of the pandemic and the years following. So we still had some pretty hefty increases this year. We had about a 20% increase overall in the assessed value of the city this year. And, some of that was new construction, but a big part of it was just the value of property going up. Some other things that were going on this year, we have the exemption of business personal property that was passed through the state legislature last year. Personal property used to be assessed for businesses. Things like furniture, fixtures, and equipment that businesses use were part of our tax base. The city last year had about $31.9 million of tax base in personal property assessed value. And that is all gone now. That is no longer taxable. However, there is a process in place that the state legislature also passed that will provide a subsidy to municipalities for that lost tax base so that you don't have to raise your mill rate, for example, to satisfy your levy. So that should all work itself out in that process. But even with that $31.9 million loss in personal property tax base, we've got almost a 20% increase in the assessed value of the city. The amount of new construction that we had this year, I think, is probably the highest I've ever seen. We're at about $210 million of new construction, which is an awful lot. I think most municipalities this size maybe have 50 or 60 million in a year, so we're looking at a really big number. Part of that is because Epic Systems continues to, build and build, but also we've got big projects like the Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals building, which is, very high valuation, and just in general, a lot of development, a lot of new construction, including residential homes and so on. So you're keeping me very busy here. But no, that's great to see all the growth. What was I going to say? The equalized values just came out August 1st, and equalized values are the State Department of Revenue's estimate of the full taxable value of each municipality every year. It is. I'm probably just not close enough to it. Thank you. Yeah, the equalized values were just published by the Department of Revenue on August 1st, and state law doesn't say that assessments always have to be at 100% market value, but in order for tax levies to be apportioned and other procedures that the state does, they need to maintain a full valuation for each municipality. And that's the purpose of the equalized values. And when equalized values come out, eventually the assessed values get measured against those. And the state will look at how close are the assessed values that the assessor has made in a municipality to the equalized values. So I made that calculation, and it's fairly typical for assessed values to lag a little bit behind. Part of the reason is because we are 1 year behind. We're always dealing with January 1st valuations, even though taxes don't come out till December. But we are this year, the assessments are almost 2% higher than the equalized values, which I was surprised to see. So I think in the past, we've been about 98, 97%, something like that. This year, we may be 101, 100, maybe even 102. And that doesn't cause a change in the tax collection or anything, but it's just an interesting measure to see that we have kept very current. And I think the reason the state's a little higher when I dug into it is because I think I'm valuing Epic actually a little higher than they are. So, but in any case, we had some pretty big increases again. Next year will be what we call just a maintenance assessment year, meaning that I won't be updating for market conditions. I'll be mostly focusing on new construction. If there are things like annexations or properties that go to or from taxable or exempt status, properties that go from agricultural use to residential or commercial use, things like that we have to do every year. And then presumably in 2026, we will do another market update. Sorry about that. All right, well, that was my summary. Any other questions for me?
Any questions for the assessor? Oh, I'll help you.
Yeah, I'm curious, can you explain more how that's going to work with the loss of the personal property? Like, do you understand how that works, or who should we be talking to understand how that works? Because that's significant.
This was a statewide change in property tax law, and there was a new form that was due to the state sometime in July that essentially was asking for the assessor and the clerk to provide the assessed value of personal property that we had the previous year in 2023, minus anything that isn't being exempted, which is rare. Almost all the personal property became exempt. And that form is what the state is going to use to base the aid payment for each municipality on. So I think we're getting 100%, if not 100%, of the personal property assessed value should be covered under the state aid payment.
And is that indefinite, that we get that every year?
As far as I know.
Okay, so it'll just be a deposit into our bank account, basically, from the state?
Essentially,
Basically, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Peters? Okay, so that covered verification of open book changes. Are we on item 10 then? Review of the assessments roll? Okay.
I can pass the assessment roll around if everyone wants to take a look. And it will be available for any members of the public if anyone shows up as well, so.
Okay, we will continue to do that. We will move on to item 11 concurrently, which is allow taxpayers to examine the assessment roll, which nobody's here for the moment. If someone were to come in, we would hand over the assessment roll so they could look at it, which brings us to item 12, which is hear objections, if any, and if proper notice/waiver is given, we would hear the case. There is nobody in the room right now. However, by state statute, we have to have this meeting last for at least 2 hours. So I'm going to suggest, if everyone's okay with it, that we recess and just hang out in this room. And if someone comes in, we will come out of recess and address their concerns and basically just hang out here till our 2 hours are up. All right. We are recessed at 6:11. All right, it is 8 p.m. and we are back in session. No Verona residents or property owners appeared to object to their assessments. So we will move on to item 13, adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Alder Hoax. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we are adjourned at 8 p.m. Thank you, everyone.